Hey everyone, good morning. James Azar here with CyberHub Engage. We are coming to you from Dallas, Texas. We just wrapped up our CISO Roundtable last night, and what a stunning, smashing success it was. Thanks to Mark Haupt for hosting us at the beautiful databank facility here, and for the awesome tour he gave us last night. Just seeing the technology behind cloud and data centers is just fascinating. And so that was that. We're wrapping up. We'll be back in our studio tomorrow. But today, let's get into our daily cyber briefing, and we have a very exclusive story for the CyberHub Engage listeners, as well as other pressing cybersecurity matters. Today is Thursday, February 6th, 2020, and here are our headlines. In a CyberHub exclusive, Charming Kitten campaign continues and keeps going on. A report of the Iowa Caucus app vulnerable to hacking. A Medicaid CCO vendor breach exposes health and personal info of 654,000 people, and the FBI reportedly says a DDoS attack targeted a voter registration website. And now for your daily cyber briefing, brought to you by our friends at Get Smart Eye. Go to Get Smart Eye Tech for more information on their revolutionary biometric app for your privacy and to keep your documents and information saved from wandering eyes. And now let's get into our leading story for today. Charming Kitten, who we all thought was charmedly dead, has actually never gone away. According to a recent report by Clear Sky Cybersecurity, which we've exclusively obtained yesterday, we will discover how Charming Kitten has improved and who it's targeting. On the 4th of October of 2019, Microsoft had announced that Charming Kitty attempted to attack email accounts that are associated with several targets, including the U.S. presidential campaigns, current and former U.S. government officials, journalists covering political issues, and prominent Iranians living outside of Iran. The spear phishing attacks were conducted by the Charming Kitten in August and September of last year. So, folks, this was before we knocked out Soleimani. It was evaluated in a medium to high level of confidence that Microsoft's discovery and the Clear Sky findings in the previous and existing report of the operation were identical. And the reason it goes is because it's the same victim profiles. In both cases, the victims were individuals of interest to Iran in the fields of academic research, human rights, opposition to the Islamic Republic of Iran's regime, and journalists. It's not exactly similar, there's extremely similarity, mainly based on the fact of some of the Israeli victims of Charming Kitten. The time overlap is identical from July to September of 2019. Microsoft mentioned that the attacks occurred in a 30-day period between August and September. Similar vectors, in both cases, Charming Kitten used similar attack vectors, which are password recovery impersonations of the secondary email belonging to the victim. Both attack vectors use extreme spear phishing in order to target Microsoft, Google, and Yahoo services, and spear phishing via SMS messages as well, indicating that the Charming Kitten gather phone numbers of the relevant victims. Microsoft found that Charming Kitten did gather phone numbers for password recovery and two-factor authentication of the relevant victim in order to gain access to their email accounts. So we're going to address all four major vectors in today's podcast. The first vector was a message with a link pretending to be a Google Drive. Charming Kitten keeps trying to attack their victims with spear phishing methods. It was observed that there was an escalation in the volume of phishing attempts, and it can be divided into several attack platforms. The first was sending an email message leveraging social engineering methods. The second platform includes an impersonation of social media websites such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And the third platform is sending SMS messages to the cellular phone of the victims. Analyzing this campaign, it was identified that there was 4 impersonations vectors that Charming Kitten used in their recent attacks. Charming Kitten tries to carry out these vectors against the same victims, and in some cases, few of those were on the same day. During the first impersonation vector of the attack, the attacked will receive an email with a link to Google sites from an acquaintance, for example, a research fellow. Through this vector, the victim is tempted to download a file located at the addressing fellow's Google site and thus collect the victim's Google credentials. In another phishing case, a link to the Google Drive is received. supposedly from an unknown person, which claims to receive too many spam messages from the victim's address and directs the victims to a Google Drive containing the message to prove this, where they go ahead and take that person's Google credentials. The second vector is through a SMS message, and through this vector, the victim will receive an SMS message which uses a sender's ID of live recover and continues an alert about a stranger who's attempted to compromise the victim's email, and the victim has to verify it through an attached link in the SMS. The link will lead to an address shortening service that we showed a little bit earlier in one of the images here on our screen. And notice that the victim in the following example receives two messages with two very different links as well, again trying to take advantage of that. Their third vector is a login attempt alert message. That's when the attackers try to present a sham show about a North Korean attacker who has attempted to compromise the victim's Yahoo Mail. The message says that a person from North Korea had logged into the email of the victim. In addition, the IP addresses of the alleged intruder is attached to the message. The IP is indeed for North Korea. And it's also a button by which the victim is asked to push to secure their account. Then the victim receives another message earlier that day about a North Korean person which made changes to the victim's account password recovery settings so that they, the victim, have to approve those changes. Again, playing off that instinct, trying to get you into clicking and giving information, using security on the back end in order to gain access. They do that through critical security alerts or discard changes or secure accounts in their messaging. And their fourth vector for Charming Kitty is social media, where they are using social media and phishing sites, pretending to not only be of Instagram and also Facebook and Twitter. And you discover that they are really redirecting and using a w3schools.org subdomain with an open directory at port 80, which contains files relevant to the deployment of those different phishing sites. The link for the full Clear Sky report can be found on our website at cyberhubengage.com, where you can go there, click the link, look at the full report. It's amazing how well they've performed with this specific vector. And now we move to another story where a review by two computer security experts of the mobile app that malfunctioned during Iowa's critical tally of the Democratic Party's caucuses has uncovered that it insecurely sends data. This according to a ProPublica report. ProPublica obtained a copy of the app called the Iowa Reporter app from an Iowa precinct chair and supplied it to Veracode, an AppSec testing company. Veracode found that the app was vulnerable to hacking because of a lack of safeguards. Transmission to and from the phone were left largely unprotected. The actual vulnerability isn't described. Chris Waspel, who is Veracode's founder, CTO, and CISO, tweeted on Wednesday that per our disclosure policy, we won't be releasing any of the details publicly. Thank you for doing that, Chris. Veracode's findings was confirmed by Alex Halderman, who is the chief scientist at Synesys and a computer science professor at the University of Michigan. ProPublica quotes him as saying this is an extremely serious vulnerability. The app is poised for wider review, according to Vice Motherboards, who's has made it available that the Android APK. Motherboard reports that the Shadow Inc. has shut down the backend servers and the app is no longer being used. Experts interviewed by Motherboard concluded that the app appeared to have been hastily thrown together. It also included a hard-coded API keys, which also not unheard of in an app, also is not a best practice. Iowa's Democratic Caucus was thrown into chaos after the mobile app deployed among precincts workers failed because of a variety of technical problems. The issues ranged from difficulties in downloading the app to problems signing in and transmitting tallies. The app was designed as a faster way to report results rather than over the phone, as had been the tradition. In an interview with Bloomberg, Nymeria says Shadow Inc. identified the bug around 10 p.m. on Monday night. Once the bug was fixed, it was then capable of sending data to the Democratic Party data warehouse. The malfunction was because of a data formatting issue. Questions have been raised as to why Iowa's Democratic Party chose to deploy an app that was designed over a couple of months before the first major caucus of the election season. The failure of the app immediately spawned conspiracy theories that falsely exploited the error as a sign that something untoward was afoot, or that this story may be just a cover-up for just that, depending on what conspiracy theory you're following on Twitter today. The fact is that the app didn't use the HTTPS protocols for data transmission, so anyone could have interfered with that, and anyone could have manipulated those results, and there's really no way to know with that. Not implementing HTTPS in a mobile app is really elementary and foregone. And so that's what happens when you're putting stuff together really quickly and you don't have the right security instincts in mind to really address it. Our third story for today is a Medicaid coordinated care organization, Health Share of Oregon, disclosed a data breach exposing the health and personal information of 654,362 individuals following the theft of a laptop owned by its transportation vendor, GridWorks IC. The nonprofit organization is Oregon's largest Medicaid CCO, and it serves the Oregon Health Plan members in Clackamas, Multnomah, and Washington County. On January 2nd, Health Share of Oregon learned that personal information of its member was located on a laptop stolen from GridWorks' Health Share contracted non-emergency medical transportation vendor. The break-in and theft occurred at GridWorks offices on November 18th of 2019. The stolen laptop includes several types of member information, including members' names, addresses, phone numbers, date of birth, social security numbers, and Medicaid ID numbers. According to Health Share statement, the personal health histories of its members were not exposed as part of the incident. Health Share is sending letters to all members who had their information stored on the stolen device, with the letter to include an offer of 1 year of free identity monitoring service, include credit monitoring, fraud consultation, and identity theft restoration. Maggie Benningham Davis, interim CEO and chief medical officer, said, "We are committed to providing the highest quality service to our members, which includes protecting their personal information." The CCO reminds people to freeze their credit if they can, stop any credit loans or other services from being approved in their name without any approval. In the case their info is misused, Health Share members are also advised to file a complaint with the FTC as well as a police report. Health Share has also set up a dedicated toll-free call center at 1-800-491-3163. Again, that's 1-800-491-3163, which is available Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for any questions or concerns. And now to our final story of the day, where the FBI reportedly warned this week that attackers repeatedly attempted to disrupt the state's voter registration and information website with a DDoS attack. On Tuesday, the FBI issued a private industry notification that describes the attempted DDoS attack, this according to Bleepy Computer, which says it obtained a copy of the alert. The hackers used a pseudo-random subdomain attack, which attempted to flood the DNS server with large amounts of queries against a list of non-existing subdomains, which can then shut the site down, the FBI alert states, according to the news report. The unsuccessful attack happened over the course of a month, bombarded the site with malicious traffic in intervals in an attempt to overwhelm the DNS server and shut down the website, according to the FBI alert. The FBI says that state voter registration websites was not affected by the DDoS siege due to properly set up rate limiting on the target's DNS servers. This Bleeping Computer reports the affected state was not named by the FBI. Federal agency, including the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and CISA, have warned that attackers are more frequently targeting and hijacking DNS servers to cause disruptions. On Wednesday, an FBI spokesperson declined to comment on the specifics, but has said that in furtherance of a public and private partnership, the FBI routinely advises private industry of various cyber threat indicators observed during the course of our investigation. This data is provided in order to help system administrators guard against the actions of persistent cyber criminals. In the case, the FBI describes the DDoS attack attempted to overwhelm the unnamed target website, which much more traffic than the DNS servers used to handling at any given time. The pseudo-random subdomain attacks seen in recent years can cause sudden bursts of traffic, sometimes as much as 15% of all DNS query traffic in any given time, in order to overwhelm the server and shut down the site. That's it for our daily cyber briefing today. We'll be back with Nigel Smart tomorrow for our Friday wrap-up. Very excited about that episode. It is going to be a blast. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Thursday. We are back in Atlanta tomorrow. Until then, again, enjoy the rest of your day and stay cyber safe.